And hello, my name is Martin Gore from Industry Excellence, and welcome to our second Tech Chat series, where I'd like to introduce my team for today. We have Clément, located in our office in Lyon, and next to him we have Amelia, also located in Lyon. And between the pair of them, I actually asked them the question earlier on, but between the pair of them, they've got 20 years experience of working on SAP MES on-premise solutions, that being MII and ME. And of course, as an organization, we're moving away from from on-prem to cloud. And so also they're also part of our cloud practice around digital manufacturing. So as today's session is really talking about digital manufacturing, SAP's cloud-based MES solution, and in conjunction of our experience of both MII and ME. Now, we all understand within the cloud that if you have an application, it traditionally is very, very difficult to make any kind of modifications. Extend maybe the UI, for example, add any additional business logic. And of course, based on our experience in the MII and ME world, we know that one MES doesn't fit all business requirements, so we need to be able to modify it. So I think I have a number of questions that I'd like to discuss with Clément and Amelia, and to kind of share with you that there actually is possibilities to extend DM to meet your different business needs and different business use cases. So to start off with, Clément, I have a question for you. So the first question is, we have the operator dashboard. We may want to call that an operator HMI. This is the screen the operator, he or she, uses on a daily basis to interact with the MES system to capture manufacturing events. But in terms of configuration, are there possibilities to change the look and feel and transactional data and etc. around that?
Yes, thanks, Martin, for the introduction. Indeed, it's possible to configure production operator dashboards thanks to the activity within DM called Production Operator Dashboard Designer. And there, it's really an activity, an application built to be able to configure buttons, layouts, based on standard plugins, functional plugins that you can reconfigure quite extensively to fit really your customer needs. So there are several standard pod plugins, pod templates, the Work Center pod, the Operator pod, and the Work Order pods. And we use them, and with this designer, we are able to change the layout, configure, for instance, the behavior of certain buttons, how would be displayed such and such pop-up or plugins. So it's quite interesting how we can extend it. And also in the background, we can change the behavior of the backend logic. So for that, we can use the production process designer. It's something you will hear a lot during this session. It's really one of the core framework to extend SAP DM and to adapt it for your customer needs. With this production process designer, you can call different public APIs of SAP DM. Those APIs are the equivalent of PAPI in SAP ME for people knowledgeable about this old technology now. You can build custom logic with checks, with different formulas. You can also add some scripting to put some conditions, and it's really helping us to fine-tune the behavior of standard and non-standard pods. For instance, we can set a cursor on a specific field on the pod. So yeah, there is really a lot that we can do. And if the standard framework is not sufficient, we can also extend by developing custom pod plugins that we deploy within SAP BTP. And then it's made available on the SAP DM pod designer. And there we have even more freedom to really change the layout without using the standard framework provided by SAP. And another solution, another option also, if we need, and again, extend even further the user interface, is the side-by-side implementation. There, we can fully develop a custom screen and deploy it inside SAP BTP. And in the background, this custom screen will call and will use some custom database, for instance, and call public APIs within SAP DM to really make the link between a full custom feature and the core MES, the core SAP DM MES functionalities. So it's really interesting how we can extend it, and that's what we are currently doing on with some of our customers. So that's
Okay.
for the pod the pod modifications. Yeah.
So thanks, Clément. So for those of you who know MII, so an MII implementation, you would use MII to create your own operator pod or UI. So within DM, effectively, SAP provides, as Clément explained, a template. We can take that template and modify it by having these plugins, a plugin being downtime, non-conformance, decorations, etc. And in the worst case scenario, we can really ignore what SAP provides as a template and build it from scratch, as Clément says. So this gives us a lot of flexibility to meet the needs of the client from a UI perspective and from the back end, from a transactional perspective. And then talking about back end, Amelia, I've got a question for you. So most of our customers are using DM in conjunction with SAP, whether that's ECC or S4, right? But we all know that sometimes we need to have more data from the ERP system to add additional biz logic or to provide more data to the operator. So could you describe the way of the possibility of bringing, let's say that custom data down from the ERP down into DM?
Yep. So first, SAP DM, like SAP ME was doing before, allows to define custom data on the main objects, so work centers, materials, production orders. And that's the easiest way to store additional data in SAP DM on objects, to store additional data that is not planned by default in the solution, because of course you have already a lot of data defined by default in standard, and that can be transferred from SAP ERP, like as you said, S4 or ECC. This custom data, once defined, can be filled manually or by an automatic way. It can, and for master data, it could come from the ERP integration. But of course, to understand the extensibility provided by SAP DM for the integration of SAP ERP, S4 or ECC, it's important to know how it works, how this integration is working by default. SAP is providing some default templates to deploy on SAP Cloud Integration Tool, which is the SAP tool responsible for all integration with cloud solution, between cloud solutions themselves or with on-premises solution. Once you deployed the default template provided by SAP into your landscape, they will allow you to exchange data between ERP and SAP DM back and forth. So for those who know how it was working between ERP and ME before, that's exactly the same mechanism that you can see now in SAP DM. Except that instead of SAP MII with its SAP ME int module that was used before, now it's replaced by template deployed on SAP Cloud Integration. Also, the mechanism to allow the extension of this integration is using XSLT for XML style sheet language transformation. This language allows you to transform an XML to another format. So here, this XSLT is transforming the XML format for the data coming from the ERP to the XML format of the same object expected by SAP DM. For example, a material, a production order, and so on. And in SAP DM itself, it's possible to copy and adapt the default XSLTs provided by SAP to enhance the integration. So, for example, to get an additional data sent by ERP that was not previously transferred to SAP DM, so take it and insert it into a custom data that was defined in advance in SAP DM. And if it's not enough, because, for example, you want to get additional data elsewhere, so out of the standard SAP ERP integration, it's also possible to enrich the message coming from SAP by default. So to enrich it by enhancing the SAP Cloud Integration template. So you can also add some additional logic to call third-party systems, or to call also SAP ERP again to get additional data linked to the data sent by default, to enrich it and fill everything to SAP DM. And of course, this mechanism applies also when you are sending data back to ERP, so from DM to ERP. So you have also default templates, and you can also extend them in the same way.
Okay, thanks for that. It's a good explanation, because we know very much in our SAP MES projects, even though there is a standard interface between DM and SAP ERP, we always find that the customer wants that additional data. So it's good to know that there are tools available where we can extend the data we pull or push back, or even get data from the third-party system. So thanks for explaining that, Amelia. So just kind of moving on a little bit, getting a little more detail. So Clem, I have another question for you. So very often we get asked a question when we're in sales activities and sales tracks, or just generally talking to customers about digital manufacturing. We get asked, well, is it possible to add transactional validations or add additional business logic when the operator is performing a transaction, or even if we're integrating to the shop floor layer, to add some kind of validation verification to either automatically pull the data, or to even simply just reduce the amount of time or operator clicks on the operator pod. So the question is this supported, and then if so, then how?
Yes, of course it's supported, and with SAP DM we have different manner to capture shop floor event. That it can be machine, operator, business events. We can capture them and build custom logic to trigger the necessary actions. And we can do that with the production process designs. So with this framework, we can build custom logic like we were doing with MII transaction, business logic transactions in the past. And those custom logic flows can automate actions, and it can be triggered, as I was saying, by an operator pressing a button on the pod. And in background, we can trigger automatic actions. So if he wants to start and we want to control or request a data collection to be recorded, then we can trigger the plugin to be displayed. So it can be extended from an operator actions. From the shop floor, from the machines or PLCs, we can also have the same feature available. So we have an event occurring. We can capture that and trigger the custom production processes that we will have developed to to make the proper actions. Machine status changing, a complete signal, you name it. We also have within SAP DM some business events that we can use also as a trigger to execute some custom functions also using still the production process designs, like order release, SFC started. Those business events can also be used to extend further the behavior and adapt it to our customer needs. And what is interesting is that those business events can trigger activities that could be asynchronously executed. So it has also some interesting capabilities there. And finally, we also have the SAP DM hook point on SAP DM activities. So for now, it's only on the only available with the numbering microservice, but with future releases, it would be extended. And these actions, this custom action will be run as synchronously. Sorry. So yeah, production processes are really built to manage such events. And again, as I was saying earlier, we can develop script logic to adapt really deeply to the customer needs. And we also are using to trigger those actions on SAP DM. We are leveraging really the public APIs. So it's standard APIs made available by SAP, developed that you can find on the public API hub at SAP, and it's really allowing us to, for instance, use data from the automation layer and transform it, aggregate it, and trigger the necessary actions within SAP DM. So we want to start an SFC from a machine signal. We want to split merge an SFC because we are triggering a separate route, or we want to retrieve some quantities from the main SFC. So we have this liberty of doing and implementing such logic thanks to the production process designs.
Okay, thanks, Clément. So kind of coming back to the beginning of our of this Tech Chat series, we're talking about cloud solutions. We believe you can't change, but I think in the last two questions we had, one from Emilian, integration, and now from Clément, there's a lot of flexibility in SAP Digital Manufacturing to be able to modify the behavior using no-code, low-code options, or even getting into detailed JavaScript if necessary to build additional logic, transactions, and so on. So this allows us to be very, very flexible when we deploy it in many different types of customer instance within their manufacturing facilities. So thanks for that. Clément, while we still have you, we all know in a factory there are unplanned activities, right? We have maybe produced too much scrap, or the machine has gone down, or some unhappy flow is being generated, so relating to non-conformity. So in terms of those kind of events, how do we sort of inform the different stakeholders which are using the MES solution? That stakeholder could be the operator or even somebody in the office, let's say.
Yes, it's also possible. We can manage alerts and event and notification within SAP DM. So I was talking about different events happening just before from the shop floor, from the PLC, and we can configure different alert types and in order to manage it in a proper manner. So for instance, within SAP DM, we have a manage alert duplication management to avoid to receive hundreds of alerts when the PLC is sending regularly the same error message, for instance, or the same tag value. So we can create, in order to do so, we can create custom services alert for quality, for downtime, and integrate them into production process designs. And that way we can use notifications and events from the factory and send them through SAP DM with the SAP production connector. and trigger the production process required. And this production process can either, because we have quite some flexibility there, can either generate an alert to the user so that it pop-ups on the pod, it's showing a notification on the alert activity, send an email notification, and then the user is able to decide manually, okay, does it needs to be closed, how to resolve this alert, so you can manage it within SAP DM and do the proper actions on the shop floor if required. And within the production process, also triggered by such event, we can manage automatically some actions using, again, public APIs, updating SFC status, to update SFC status, machine status, and we can even call other production processes if required. If we have a more complex logic triggered by a certain alert, and a function of tag value or status within SAP DM, it can trigger different actions. So that way, we really can extend and show to the customer and to the operator meaningful information coming from the shop floor with this alert, and allow him to and assist him in his work to do properly his work and track the necessary messages coming. It's also possible, and we are also using it to manage the non-happy flow in the production process design. If we have an error occurring, it can happen that a use case is unforeseen during our designs, and those errors are captured and can be sent as a notification to the operator on the pod, for instance, as a warning or a notification. And yeah, finally, also we didn't talk about it, but we can also use REO, so resource orchestration events, to trigger some alerts so that the operator can manually report when he is in a critical situation. Some event that can be managed or by an operator or by the line manager, for instance. So we can also collect from some REO events.
Okay, thanks, Clément. So effectively, it sounds like we have a lot of flexibility to manage those unplanned activities, and especially in implementation where you have what I call the operator is a very, very low touch. So basically, those high-level automation between the MES system automation layers, what I call low touch environment. When unexpected events happen, then we can just warn the user, the operator, or the office, or applicable in terms of when unexpected events occur, right? So basically MES by exception, if I use those kind of words.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're into our final question now. So my final question is to you, Amelia. So within the MES layer, we're capturing a lot of data, right? We're capturing downtime activities with some reason codes. We're catching based on unhappy flows or things like scrap and non-conformance reason codes, and so on. So we have this nice, element of data. So the first question is how do I get access to that data? And then secondly, is there a template or a framework where I can actually build my own KPIs based on the data which we're collecting in the MES layer?
Yep. So I will do a little bit of history on SAP DM, even if this tool is pretty new. It has already some history. And at the beginning, SAP delivered SAP DM-C, we called it at this moment like that, for Insight. It was named DMI or DMCI, depending on the versions. And it was proposing a default template to aggregate and calculate OEE and some other basics KPI. And in addition, they delivered what they call dashboard designer tool, which was a little bit like the self-service composition environment, SSCE, in SAP MII. But globally, this DMCI template, the cloud solution for BI SAP Analytics Cloud, known under the acronym SAC or SAC, was ramping up. And it was providing a lot of tools and widgets to build easily dashboards and KPIs based on data that could come from different locations, from different systems, SAP tools, or also so on-premises or cloud solution from SAP, but also third-party solutions. And so the SAP DM product team decided to leverage all the capabilities of this tool of SAP Analytics Cloud into SAP DM by embedding a version of it, and it's usually called embedded SAC or embedded SAC. In order to allow to get the data from DM to this embedded tool, they built a new layer that they named Manufacturing Data Layer, which is composed of what they called Manufacturing Data Objects, or MDO. And these MDOs are filled in real time with the data coming from the execution in SAP DM layer, and it will serve as a foundation for any analytics or even API purposes to be able to build dashboard and KPIs on top of it. And with the embedded SAC, using the MDO data, you can build KPI and dashboard just using drag and drops and selection of fields. It's very easy and very convenient even for non-IT persons. So that's the power of this SAP Analytics Cloud. It's really provided and embedded into SAP DM. But that's not all. You can also have different needs that just analytical, and for that, SAP DM brings a tool named Line Monitor. So Line Monitor is a specific production operator dashboard, that acts like an add-on. So it's by default showing OE details by work centers. So you have all the details of the standard details of OEE by work center, and you can aggregate and show these different values on this Line Monitor pod. You can also create your own custom Line Monitor pod that can be configured, and also you can use behind this pod, you can use what they call overlay tool to put a picture of the plant or an area of the plant, for example, and map on it the work center OE details or work center details. So some other data of the work center as well. And one of these possibilities is also to configure and display the last value of an indicator that you define on your work center. And this indicator can be a process data followed on the shop floor. So it could be a temperature, a pressure, or something like that, or just a counter of good parts and bad parts. And you can embed this value into the Line Monitor pod. This value can come directly from the machine itself. But then for more details about how to connect these physical assets, your machine's data to SAP DM, I will ask you to please join my colleagues in the next Tech Chat session that should happen on the 6th of December.
Okay, thanks, Emilia. So in terms of a quick summary on that, it sounds like we have a foundation where all manufacturing execution data is then published into the MDOs. And then on top of that, we have We have embedded SAC to allow the user to extract that data in the way that they want to. And if necessary, then overlay that on some kind of image of the plant, and also then take in some dynamic data directly from a sensor to be displayed on the line. So I think that gives us a lot of flexibility to address the needs of customers, because we always know that our customers want data displayed in different ways and in different formats, and so on. So thanks for that. So this brings us nicely to the end of today's Tech Chat series number 2. As Emilian said, we have another one coming up on the 6th of December. And then obviously in that topic there, we talk about how we collect effectively the cloud world to the physical world, and how do we push and pull data. I'd like to say thank you very much to all of those people who attended today. And just as an FYI, there actually will be some slides which you can download at the end of this webinar, so that you can. There is some context in terms of the topics that Emilia and Clement have been covering in today's session. So again, thank you very much and have a good day. Okay, cheers. Bye bye.
Thank you.